In the midst of all these crazy times, and hearing about all the video game news coming out, like those crazy Last of Us 2 leaks, a new Assassin's Creed game with Vikings, and the announcements of all the next-gen consoles, I wanted to take some time to talk about one of, if not the biggest game developer studio of all time, Rockstar Games. Fun fact, I was originally planning on doing a video review an hour or longer about Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead 1 was already looking to be one of the best games of all time, but in my honest opinion, Red Dead 2 blew it out of the water by a long shot, and I also found it to be better than Grand Theft Auto 5. Sorry fanboys, but it's just my honest opinion. Red Dead Redemption 2 solidified itself as being one of the best games of the 2010 decade, and Rockstar never ceases to disappoint. Hell, there are new rumors of a Grand Theft Auto 6 in the foreseeable future, which gets me kind of excited simply because it's Rockstar, and I myself am not a huge fan of GTA. Sure, they're fun games, and I get the online can be kind of addicting, but it lacks a lot of key plot story elements usually when compared to something as plot-driven and groundbreaking as, well, Red Dead Redemption 2. But something's missing. There's gotta be something, right? Not just Grand Theft Auto, not just Red Dead Redemption. Oh yeah. Bully. While I don't see Bully as an underrated game by Rockstar per se, it's certainly a game deserving of a sequel that's kind of flown under the radar of a lot of Rockstar fans. And I honestly am surprised that hasn't come out already, that being Bully 2. When thinking of underrated Rockstar games, I think of something along the lines of The Warriors, or maybe even LA Noire, even though that wasn't entirely Rockstar's doing. Bully's a cult classic, and for those who aren't educated about how fun this game is, let me do my best to fill you in. Bully, as it was called in 2006, or Canis Canem Edit depending on where you're from, was a PlayStation exclusive when it came out on October 17, 2006. I still remember having all those fun summer afternoons playing that, along with SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom and NBA Jam, until one day my grandma spilled her cup of coffee all over her tin and it never turned on again. I never got to finish Bully, I only got past the Halloween mission for the PS2, and it was destroyed. And my dad didn't have plans to buy another one. And a couple years had gone by and I found out that Bully Scholarship Edition, an HD remake of sorts of the original, was released for the Xbox 360, Wii, and PC. We got it on the Wii first, and I would come home every day from school and play it with Nick and sometimes my aunt. We eventually beat it before putting the game away. But that didn't end my love for Bully. I still had a place for it in my heart, and I still kind of do to this day. Eventually, when I got my Steam account, my dad gifted me Bully Scholarship Edition a year or two later, and I played it a lot. I even did a series on it on my channel back in 2016. Things were great. Bully is one of my favorite games of all time. But still now, after 14 long years, Bully 2 has never seen the light of day. Why is that? Well, as of right now, we have no idea what Rockstar's future plans are. Some people like Bossman Fuck the World believe that every little detail that literally means nothing concludes that GTA 6 is their next title, and while that may be the case, a lot of people, myself included, want to see Bully 2 instead. Apparently there was even a playable version of Bully 2 that just never came forward or saw the light of day. And like I said, Bully 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I mean that quite literally. It's one of the games I found myself replaying the most out of all my favorite games. It's that and Half-Life, which coincidentally, both deserve sequels, but since Half-Life 3 is pretty much right around the corner with everything that Half-Life Alyx gave us, I'm still waiting for Bully 2. And quite frankly, I just got so bombarded with news about Bully 2 and the fake leaks that kept coming out, showing the map, amongst other things. I just gave up hope that Bully 2 would ever make it to store shelves. With all the fake leaks and insiders that probably have no idea or any clue what Rockstar's next project even is, I didn't see myself ever getting happy about a Bully 2 announcement. So here I am making this video inspired by Red Dead Redemption 2, my love for the first game and my love for the Bully community. So many YouTubers whom I admire and love, like Swegta, the Nathan and S, and others, have all restored some faith that maybe one day we could see a sequel. So in this video, I wanted not only to discuss why we haven't gotten a sequel, but also give you my hot takes and what I think could make Bully 2 not only work, but work greatly. Let's get into the beginning of it. So, just imagine this. Just like with Red Dead Redemption 2, one day, Rockstar Games releases something like this onto Twitter and any social media website, and fans go wild. YouTubers all over announce the news that Bully 2 is officially on its way. Then sometime later, we get a poster, a wallpaper of sorts, similar to how we got this for Red Dead Redemption 2. Time goes by, we begin to speculate what the game is like, what the story is, what the features are, who the main character is, and then the first trailer drops and breaks the internet and fills the Rockstar Games fans' souls with happiness and joy. I don't have an exact idea for what the teaser trailer should be, but something like that fake trailer we got a few years back that just showed the inside of the boys' dorm would be something to go off of, I guess. Some things could be shown that would get the Bully fans excited, like Jimmy's old room, or even the school, or old characters, or hell, just cut out a newspaper article talking about Gary's batshit crazy idea to overthrow the entire damn academy. Then after some more time goes by, we get a few more trailers, and knowing Rockstar delaying the game a couple times, if you know what I'm saying, Bully 2 is finally ready to release. Now you may be asking, what direction are you going to take Bully 2, Adam? Well, I wouldn't go with the summer camp idea. Now again, before I go on any further, I'm just going to say this is all my opinion. You may have your own idea and, thoughts on what Bully 2 should be like and what should happen. This is just all my opinion, and it shouldn't be something to go off of as true, because it's just what I would like to see in the game and what I think would be cool. I wouldn't go with the summer camp idea. I just feel like there's some fun to be had there, but I would want to go somewhere else and have a little bit more creative freedom. I also really love the idea of another teenager having his or own troubles at the same academy from the first game, just sometime later after the events of the first game. But I'm actually going to stick with the classic root of Bully 2 ideas and take it to a Bullworth University of sorts, a Bully game in college. You start the game up and you see a new Rockstar Games intro. You see what appears to be notebook paper, and then a pencil starts sketching the Rockstar logo before a school bell alarms and the notebook closes to a black screen. Then you see it, the title screen. Bully 2 has finally arrived. Here's where I find the story. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, give this game at least 6 chapters, give or take. And for me, I'm going to have the game take place 3-ish years after the first game. And the first mission of the game could be like Jimmy's graduation from high school or something. Maybe a prologue mission to start before entering the first chapter. Like, you play the prologue mission for Bully 2 as a senior graduating from high school. And then when that prologue mission ends, Chapter 1 officially starts and you're on your own journey in college. Keep in mind also that a lot of other people on YouTube have given their own ideas for their version of Bully 2, and you might hear me say something like an idea of sorts that a YouTuber's already said along the lines of them. No, I'm not copying them. I too just probably think it's a really good idea and would want it included in the game. Just a simple heads up, I'm not really copying them, I just think it's also a good idea. Okay, before we get into the main story and what I think should happen, I'm going to tell you what happens in each chapter. I first want to mention a new part of Bully, a new feature, and some of the other features I want to add that I think would make Bully 2 a little more free and a little more fun. The first thing I want to include as a big feature is pickable classes. Instead of doing the same old classes every day like biology, English, art, gym, photography, chemistry, math, music, and shop, give the player a choice of a long list of classes. Then you can pick the days the classes fall on too and go to those classes whenever you want them. And you can pick the time too, why not? Of course, bring back the minimap like every Rockstar game, and I would also include the clock while playing instead of pausing to look at the time like in Red Dead 2 or GTA 5. So then you start your journey. We could have Pete join Jimmy at college, but I think it would be better if after senior graduation, Dr. Crabblesnitch retired and put Pete Kowalski in charge as head of the school. But here's where I'm Here's where I'm torn, because we could have Pete go to be headmaster and not go to college, and he could be a character Jimmy frequently contacts to get advice from. Or we could have Pete wait until after he's done with college to go back and be the headmaster, and he goes with Jimmy and they become roommates. But in my honest opinion, I just think it would be better if Pete stayed as the headmaster right after high school and Jimmy could just call him. Jimmy could room with Russell or even a new character. I would say new character just so we can fit Jimmy into a larger world. Another thing to include would be a bigger map. Do what Red Dead Redemption 2 did and have the map from the first game make a comeback, but also just build onto it with the new game's map. Might be a good idea. You could have like 3 sections of one of them. One would be the university itself, make it huge, and build another town around the university that connects the main Bullworth town from Bully 1. And then, you know, the rest is history. Since Bullworth takes place in New England, from what we can gather, just have a route that can take them maybe into another state or another city. This will just make sense later. Just make the map huge overall, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. There's another feature I've heard from a lot of other people, and that is a phone feature. It would be neat to access the internet and see the latest buzz, or perhaps shoot the shit with your friends and maybe set up a hangout session, or pranks, or even frat parties maybe. Which leads me to my next point. How awesome would it be? How freaking awesome would it be to gain upgrades for like a frat house? You know, maybe you could start the game, you'll see what I mean by could. You could start the game in a dorm and you get tired of it, and then you go into a frat house, and that could be like your thing. That could be just something to upgrade. It could be like part of the story itself, and could be this game's version of the camp from Red Dead Redemption 2. My great friend TheEpikPikmin, who by the way, huge shout out to TheEpikPikmin for helping me with 90% of this, suggested an in-game option that could perhaps choose a fraternity house to join and carry on through the story. But I think it would be a little bit too convoluted if you got to pick. So I think in the main story you should just join one, and you can upgrade it as you play and progress through the game. You can play mini games at your frat house, similar to Dodgeball from the first game, Horseshoes in Red Dead Redemption 2, Golf in GTA 5, and Dominoes in Red Dead Redemption 2. And by Horseshoes I meant Red Dead Redemption 1. You could play like beer pong, amongst other fraternity-related games at the frat house. And also, before continuing, I would like to also say that I would bring back Sean Lee for the soundtrack, of course. The soundtrack for Bully 1 was by far one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in my life from any movie, game, or TV show, period. We're not done with the features just yet, so another feature I would like to include is, I don't know, for instance, getting a job. Somewhere in town or somewhere on campus to make a little extra money on the side, besides just paper routes and mowing lawns. Sure, you can also earn money from doing missions, running errands, and doing stranger missions, which, by the way, I am including stranger missions. Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 had them, so why not a Bully 2? The job system, I think, would work like this. You have a certain list of jobs to do on campus and a high variety in the town of Bullworth. You have the ability to apply for the job, and then when you get it, on certain days you will have a little icon flash on your minimap and get a little prompt stating that you are needed at your job. You could have your boss call you on your phone as well. If you missed your job, you would lose available money for the day and get scolded by your boss. You miss a job too many times and you'll get fired and probably won't be able to apply for that job again, or at least until after the chapter ends, making it hard to get some extra money. Also, an honor system. Similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, by the end of the game, if you have good honor, you get the good ending. Bad honor, you get the bad ending. And the honor system depends on a wide variety of different things. The major component would be classes, I think. Let me take you all back to the first game for a second. Let's say you're playing Bully 1, Bully Scholarship Edition, Bully on the PS2, 2006, whatever. If you failed English 2, the next time English rolls around, you would just redo English 2 until you passed it. I think it would be cool if Bully 2 strayed away from that. If you fail a class in Bully 2, you don't just retry the class, you fail it. It goes on your grade card permanently. You don't redo the class, you just try and pass the rest of the classes of English to overshadow the one that you failed. So then you gain honor for each past class. The higher the grade, the higher honor points are awarded. If you fail all your classes, you gain very low honor. If you pass all your classes, you gain very high honor. There would also be other ways of gaining and losing honor, sure. For instance, doing errands, stranger missions, jobs, passing classes, or even striking up friendly conversation will gain you high honor, while bullying or pranking randoms for no reason, failing classes, skipping class, skipping jobs, or doing drugs and drinking will lose you honor. And then you have stores. Let's get into stores as another feature in the game. Bring back the barbers, the grocery stores, novelty, prank, gift stores like the comic book shop. Bring back the clothing shops and others. But now bring in new shops, maybe a skateboard shop where you could buy a skateboard from a variety of different ones and customize it. Different color patterns, different wheels, and maybe even throw in a skate park somewhere in town. And make the bike shop better too. You can actually customize a lot of different bikes to your heart's content, get new parts, make it more upgradable and move faster and have higher durability, that sort of thing. Food. Food should be here too. The food and core system from Red Dead Redemption 2 should make a return, only this time it's like college kid food. If you're at a restaurant or a food place on campus, you can get a slice of pizza, a hot dog, some chips, tacos, etc. If you're out and about, like when you were on your horse in Red Dead Redemption 2, you'd eat canned foods. Here, if you're out and about, you just get out, like, I don't know, ramen, like a cup of noodles, canned ravioli, oatmeal, chips, mac and cheese, granola bars, etc. Then flush it all down with some water from your water bottle, or maybe a nice caffeinated bean cola. Or if you're near a drinking fountain, get one from there too. Of course, Jimmy wouldn't have a satchel like Red Dead Redemption, but a backpack. And you can customize your backpack. And kind of like the trophies that you'd get in the first game after completing missions and classes, have like little trophies in your frat house and also little pins on your backpack or little designs on your backpack too. I think that'd be pretty cool. Now I know you want me to talk about the Bully 2 main story, and I'll get to that eventually, just give me a little bit. I'm having way too much fun with this. All the weapons from Bully 1 should make a return. A couple changes and new weapons as well to go along with it. First change, I don't think melee weapons should just be an item you pick up and use until they break, like in the first game. Add a slot in your weapon wheel for a melee weapon. Baseball bats, tennis rackets, golf clubs, frying pans, and for main weapons, throw in a paintball gun or a BB gun. And for throwable weapons, bring back firecrackers, stink bombs, itching powder, eggs, marbles, and the rubber band ball. But add in new throwable items, like toilet paper, dodgeballs. Hell, maybe take the tennis racket and have an option to use it as a main weapon instead of a melee, and just fire tennis balls at people. And if you wanted to waste food instead of eating it, throw a tomato at someone, or throw a slice of pizza at someone, or just throw food at someone. One more effective main weapon I saw somewhere was having the nerds make another rifle that fires beam cola and Mentos. Of course, don't say it's Mentos, but And then you got collectibles. No more rubber bands, no more Grottos and Gremlins playing cards, no more collectibles that can be, making rubber band balls or anything like that, or giving you costumes. We have other collectibles. No more transistors, no more gnomes, nothing like that. We have other ones that can be traded into novelty stores or sold to kids on campus for money. Bring in a music hipster character who asks Jimmy to collect various music CDs and vinyls, and in return gives Jimmy money, and a music player where you can maybe add in music via iTunes or Spotify or something from your own account. Collect tabs from soda cans for money, comic books, old game cartridges, amongst other things. And while we're on the subject of weapons, what about fighting moves? Rockstar could keep the fighting styles we learned from the hobo, but it would be nice to learn more. And I don't think we should go back to the hobo to learn more moves. Here's what I think would be cool. Maybe go into town and learn Taekwondo. Do the first one and get your white belt, and then keep going back, and it keeps getting harder until you earn the black belt. Maybe learn new moves with each belt. That's simple. Then cliques. We also have a lot of cliques. First, I'd say get rid of the greasers, because, the greasers just felt like they were stuck in the 50s, not something that I would want to keep in the modern times. And then I guess probably keep the townies and maybe keep the bullies, but for sure get rid of the greasers. Keep the jocks, of course, keep the nerds, and keep the preps, but change the preps' appearance a little bit. Give them different colored khaki shorts, boat shoes, and different colored polos with the Bullworth logo on them or something, with their slick back hair. And then you can add in new cliques, like the stoners, the emos, the really, really rambunctious and friendly theater kids. Stoners can be used to purchase marijuana off of, and used for health restoration or stamina restoration. And, yeah. Alrighty, everybody, the time has come. After talking about all the new features to include in Bully 2, let's get into the main story, the main dish, starting with the prologue. In my eyes, the prologue starts with Bullworth Academy High School from the first game. We see the senior students at their desks, all finished with their finals. Pete and Jimmy sit next to each other, shaking their legs on edge of their seats with their backpacks on, staring at the clock, waiting for the final bell to ring. When it does, eventually, they all pour out of the class as Mr. Galloway tells the students to have fun in their future endeavors. Jimmy stops with Pete outside the class and tells him he will see him outside in a few minutes. Goes back in and talks to Mr. Galloway and thanks him for the fun at Bullworth. Lionel Galloway asks Jim about college, to which he confirms he'll be attending the newly built Bullworth University that was just built in the past 3 years, just past old Bullworth Vale. They bid farewell, and Jim catches up with Pete as they head back to the dorm. Pete confirms they're going to be doing work on making the school better, and it won't be complete until next school year, and Pete will have to take a year off before becoming headmaster. So basically the entire academy, the high school academy, is going to undergo construction. It won't be done until next summer. The students are transferring to do classes online until the academy is reopened. Jimmy meets with Zoe, who tells him that she will be away doing school in another part of town not too far from Bullworth called Diamond Wall. The prologue ends with graduation as you finally play as Jimmy and drive yourself and your parents to the university after summer ends. You drive a car to the university and get situated as the prologue ends, and Jim gets situated in the dorm. Simple as that. That's the prologue. Doesn't have to be that hard, doesn't have to be that difficult. That sounds perfect in my eyes. Chapter 1 officially begins next. You do the first couple missions to get situated in the dorm, but figure out that they are annoying and keep everyone awake at night. Jimmy looks for a frat house to stay in and eventually finds Vizzy Omega, and the kids of Vizzy Omega are known as the Court Jesters. That's what they call themselves. You become situated with them and do missions and small pranks. They keep talking about this big prank that they call the Fool's Errand, and it's like the big prank from the first game. Not like the same details, but it's along the lines of how big it is. You continue on through Chapter 1, and towards the 3/4 mark, Pete calls Jimmy and tells him that the Happy Volts Asylum has had a system malfunction, and all the inmates have been released as they worry Gary might show himself and come back for them as a sign of revenge. Jimmy explains the whole situation to the court jesters, and Steven, one of the new characters, explains that he heard about the antics Gary did all the way in Liberty City when he went to high school. They all agree to help Jimmy and then go around town and campus collecting supplies to perhaps help Jimmy against Gary if he were to ever show up. They also collect for the big prank too. Now, I want to get into this before I continue on with Chapter 1. Some plot elements that happen in this are going to be controversial, but every Rockstar game has some amount of controversy surrounding it, because they always blow something out of the water that a lot of people get upset about. Nothing too big is going to happen in here, but some people may find it offensive. If you find it offensive, please don't leave hate comments or anything like that. Just leave if it doesn't suit you, and that's perfectly fine. I understand if this gets under your skin, if it's a leaky faucet, if I should say that. If it's too much and it just strikes a nerve, just leave. I apologize. But yeah, the finale concludes with them a few weeks later not worried about the inmates because they haven't attacked in those few weeks. They all hang out outside and notice someone entering the campus grounds who wears a surgical mask and a medical gown. He stumbles and falls. They run to his aid, but Jim knows it's a trap and tells everyone to get back. Jimmy notices someone in a car arriving. He gets out, looks young, but we don't really see his face. He wears a burlap sack over his head and has eye holes cut out, and unfortunately carries an assault rifle on the campus grounds before shooting. He doesn't kill anyone, he doesn't even injure anyone, but instead fires warning shots. No students are harmed at all, no students will be harmed. Jimmy takes the inmates out quietly. They all catch up with him and beat them up. A fight erupts. Jimmy takes out the attacker, thinking it's Gary, but it isn't. It's a blonde kid who claims to be an enemy of Bullworth University and promises bad things will come. The police arrive and arrest him. Chapter 1 ends with them wondering who these guys are and where they came from. Chapter 2 starts mostly preparing for the next prank, where you learn about the rival school, Diamond Crest University. You gain information and figure out Diamond Crest is in Diamond Wall, New England. Jimmy knows that Zoe is attending school there. Mid-chapter, we see that the asylum still has missing patients except one, Gary Smith, who refuses to leave and wants to stay because he knows how much carnage and chaos he would cause. The workers suspect he was behind the system crash, but Gary tells the workers it was caused by a bunch of random college kids. He saw them through his asylum room window. While going through town, Jimmy sees an inmate in an alleyway, searching through some garbage bins. He interrogates the inmate, who confirms that Diamond Crest was behind the inmates let loose and the school shooting. Later on, we learn that the upcoming football game between Bullworth's team and Diamondcrest's team is going to be a hot spot for them to pull off a prank. The prank is to sneak into a locker room before the game, put itching powder in the rival team's uniforms and helmets, film the hilarity at the game, and upload it online. This, along with the almost school shooting, is what starts the war on both sides. Chapter 3 is kind of a rush, but not as much of a rush as the next few chapters are. The war officially starts in Chapter 3. We find out that while in the middle of the night, the university was vandalized and the statue of Albert Bullworth was stolen along with parts of Visio Omega. They also noticed that the library's books were stolen, and the whole campus was graffitied. Jimmy calls Zoe to ask about it, and she claims she has nothing to do with any pranking, but also says she made a mistake coming to Diamond Crest and misses Jimmy. Jimmy thinks that Visio Omega that could get back at Diamond Crest, so they think of a way and they come up with something that may be of use. A prank. Then they go inside the rival school's gymnasium early morning before class starts. They plant wooden spikes with a pig's head on it and plant torches next to it. They light it on fire, the pig's head that is, but the rivals catch them and attack, causing Tristan, another one of the fraternity group members at Bullworth, to drop the torch and ignite the gym in a fury of flames. The rivals retreat as you leave the premises. Then you sneak with the others to the Diamond Crest fraternity and sorority houses. You go in each one to see if you can get the things back from your frat house and possibly the statue. When you do, you leave the area and the gym burns down, officially. Zoe gets Jimmy on the phone and tells him that it's crazy that some nut burned down the gym. Jimmy tells Zoe that her school is playing pranks on Bullworth and they need her help. Zoe thinks that Diamond Crest burned their own gym and holds an infinite grudge because the fire killed her only good friend there, Kate. She agrees to help Jimmy and his frat group and starts driving to Bullworth as Jimmy tells them not to tell her they burned the gym down. Chapter 4 starts just a couple days after the fire. Zoe is willing to help in any way she can, and Jimmy and the others create a plan. Find out what they're doing next. One of the emos of the frat named Cameron claims that he found out that one of the rivals was doing pranks was named Paul Peterson, a prep at Diamond Crest. You play as Zoe for a mission and drive or bike or skateboard back into Diamond Wall and make your way back to the university. You sneak around the frat houses until you listen in on Paul's conversation to his frat group from his yard. He tells them to keep their phones updated and check the group chat as much as possible to hear about future ideas and plans. Zoe returns to tell Visio Omega about the phone thing. Todd Jones, a Visio Omega nerd and brother to Ernest Jones from the first game, accesses a networking site to hack into Paul's phone and see their messages to see what they're planning next. They are revealed to be livid about the gym burning and plan to go a step beyond mindless pranks and plan an attack on the campus grounds. That coming weekend, it's Tuesday for them at this point, so that coming weekend, Jimmy tells the others that the frat are indeed in need of equipment to keep the frat and campus safe from Diamond Crest. He asks Todd that the other nerds make weapons for the entire frat to use against the rivals. They agree, and Jimmy remembers the spud cannon from Bullworth Academy on top of the little ledge guarding the observatory. Zoe and Jimmy go to Ernest, who accepts and bring in the nerds from Game 1. We get Algie, Cornelius, Thad, Bucky, Melvin, Fatty, and Donald all come back to help Visio Omega. Even throw Beatrice in there too if you want. Jimmy feels nostalgic and realizes that they may need a backup plan if this fails, so he retrieves some old muscle to help. He gets Russell, Davis, Ethan, Edgar, Omar, Darby, and Biff to help with the muscle. They all agree to meet in Visio Omega's frat house, and Friday rolls around and they go over the plan for tomorrow. The potato cannon is almost finished, they just need one more part, which is located in the science building across the campus. Although unexpectedly, the rivals attack a day early. They arrive in cars and launch smoke grenades and bottle rockets at the frat houses and the campus. They all spread out as Ernest and Todd tell Jimmy to go get the science lab final part so that they can help out and fix the spud cannon to take out the rivals. The muscles all go out and an all-out rumble breaks up between Diamond Crest and the Bullworth muscle. Jimmy runs to get the final part and brings it back to the nerds as they build the final contraption. Jimmy looks to the muscles and sees that they've all been defeated, even Russell. Zoe comes out to see if Jimmy is hurt and notices Paul Peterson and his friend Wyatt Mackey. Wyatt calls Zoe's name and says, "Babe." This confuses Jimmy. Paul confronts Jimmy about burning the gym, which confuses Zoe. Jimmy then realizes that Zoe is cheating on him, while Zoe realizes that Jimmy started the fire and killed Kate. They argue and they split up as Zoe leaves for good, not joining either side. They tell Jim he went too far and are going to make sure he pays until the nerds bust out the potato cannon and fire the machine gun and spud launcher at the Diamond Crest kids. Jimmy gets up top and takes out all the bullies until they are knocked out. When they are, Paul and Wyatt get away and vow revenge. The campus gains knowledge of the antics and shuts down the Visi Omega frat house. This doesn't stop the Jesters though, as they all agree to meet at Prep Jasper Owen's house in Old Bullworth Vale. Jim, after realizing Zoe was a big help, is now at a loss. But realizing that he has no one else to help plan, he calls an old friend to help, Pete. Chapter 5 starts as you play as Pete. You have to drive all the way from his parents' house in another part of town called Wintersmend, and you drive all the way to Bullworth Vale and meet at Jasper's house. They all try and think of plans but are confused, but they know what they must be quick before the rivals attack. With their ideas escaping them, Pete has an idea but tells Jimmy that he won't like it. He tells Jimmy that the person they know with the plan for everything could be of use. Jimmy is curious but realizes who he means, Gary. Jimmy immediately declines the offer, saying he's a sociopath, but Pete tries talking him into it, forming a truce of sorts and offering him something in return. Jimmy still says no. Jimmy and Pete go out to the front lawn after Stephen calls their name, and as they see Jasper's sister in a red wagon. She is tied up and has cuts and bruises all over and duct tape over her mouth. They help her as soon as they get to her, and she says that she's kidnapped and was tortured and by the Diamond Crest kids, and they're coming back to attack the campus grounds when they get the chance, but never told her when. Jimmy rethinks about Gary and accepts. Him and Pete sneak into the asylum and go to solitary confinement where Gary is. They can't open it, so Jimmy and Pete sneak in and get orderly uniforms like the old days when they saved Johnny. They go back to the room and unlock it before entering. We see Gary. Still has the scar, but now has a buzz cut. Jimmy and Pete take their masks off and reveal themselves, and Gary remembers who they are. Right off the bat, calls Jimmy a son of a bitch and then runs at him before he is stopped by Pete, who throws him back on his bed. Pete tells him about the plan and how they need his help, but Gary instantly declines no matter what. They offer him money, and he says that he never cared about money. They offer him a way out and offer to pay for school to lead a normal life, and Gary still says no. Then they offer him, after all that, they offer him everything they just offered, the paying for the school, but they also offer him power over the Diamond Crest school to do whatever he wants and start a battle on their grounds as the final prank, or the fool's errand, kind of like how he did with Bullworth when they were in high school. He finally agrees, and you have to get him out while fighting through orderlies and make it back to town with a full wanted level. When you get free, you bring Gary back to the others as Russell almost attacks him. They calm him down and they start planning. Gary suggests that they steal their mascot, which is a Doberman dog who is in a cage in the environmental ed building. And it's a Doberman because their mascot is the Doberman, or it's actually the dogs, the Diamond Crest dogs. Gary and Jimmy go to the building and leave the others at Jasper's house. Gary and Jimmy take Jasper's car and drive to Diamond Wall, where they sneak into the science lab. They avoid all contact with everyone until they get to the dog cage. Jimmy asks Gary about what they're going to do with him when they get the dog back to the house, but Gary ignores him and kills the dog right on the spot, confirming that he's still a sociopath. Jimmy's outraged and confronts Gary, saying that he's finally lost his mind more than he did before, and just when he thought he could change. The environmental ed class walks in at the last second as Gary and Jimmy hide behind desks and make their way to the door quietly until they see that the dog is dead. They run for it and quickly drive back to Jasper's. On the way back, they see smoke trail into the sky way off in the distance. Jimmy thinks it's Old Bullworth Vale, but Gary says it's coming from Billy Crane's Traveling Carnival. They get to Jasper's and it's engulfed in flames. They both get out of the car and Gary says there's a fire extinguisher in the trunk. Jimmy pulls out and puts out the fires. Sees the house is empty, no one was in there. Jimmy tells Gary, and Gary tells Jimmy to look out back where he is. There's a message written in blood saying, "We got them," and Jasper's dead sister is next to it. They now know what to do next, and they go after the gang, or they plan to at least. The fire department comes and speaks with Gary as you play as Jimmy and go get the crew back from the Diamond Crest frat houses. You go in, you cause a giant fight, and set the others free as you rumble with them and run free. As you escape, the cops arrive for some reason and arrest Jimmy on account of arson, as we find out that Gary blamed the fire at Jasper's house on Jimmy and is now officially the main bad guy of the story again. He tells the others to get out, and the police take Jimmy after he tells them not to trust Gary. Finally, we have Chapter 6, and it begins in winter with all the Jesters at a hotel together. They now have 3 main worries. You play as Pete again, and the first of the 3 worries is getting Jimmy out of jail. Then worry about Gary, and then the school. One of the first missions is getting Jimmy out of prison with the help of Russell, Darby, Biff, and Edgar. As you make your way through the prison, you release all the prisoners and escape with Jimmy. Then you get to play as Jimbo again. You make your way out as the others go their own way, and you and Pete go your way back to the motel. On the way back, you are chased by Diamond Crest. You play as Jimmy and take care of them with slingshots and potato guns. As you make it back, you realize how stuck you are without Gary's brain, but the nerds conduct another plan. They plan to invite the rival school to form a sort of truce and blame everything on Gary and turn it into a bust for him, work together, and go after him. They have no other options and continue through with this plan. They invite Diamond Crest to a meeting place in the main Bullworth town at the lighthouse and beach. They come and they discuss a partnership to deal with Gary. They tell Diamond Crest that he was responsible for most of the heinous pranks and crimes until Gary himself gets out of one of the Diamond Crest cars and reveals himself to be a double agent working for Diamond Crest. He was intrigued by them, and when Jimmy told him about the feud, he thought it would be a perfect opportunity to trick him and get his revenge. The deal, of course, cancelled as Gary tells them to deal with Bullworth as he drives away back to Diamond Crest University. The rivals pull guns and start firing. You, the player, use spud guns and less dangerous weapons to take out the enemies. After the mission is complete, you do a few missions, of course, to get ready for the potential attack from them, and do a few missions here and there for your group, and track down Gary until the final mission. The final mission starts with you rounding up every student at Bullworth University and getting them to ride with you to Diamond Crest. The nerds make enough weapons for everyone. Every student grabs a weapon as Jimmy makes a speech to stop Diamond Crest and Gary Smith once and for all. They all cheer and scream, and then they walk. They don't drive, they don't bike, and they don't skate. They all walk together like badasses to Diamond Crest. When you arrive, Jimmy tells everyone to attack as they forcefully enter the premises and attack the students and rivals. As Jimmy, you disband from the group and leave to the frat houses to find Paul, Wyatt, and Gary, and the others. You find out from a whiteboard inside one of the frat houses that the Diamond Crest gang were planning another school shooting, and Gary had everything all planned and ready, including the weapons inside of a chest. Jimmy leaves the whiteboard up and is ambushed by Paul and Wyatt. You then take them out one by one in a fistful brawl. When they are down, you interrogate them about Gary's whereabouts. They say he is in the main dorm planning, but the dorm is on lockdown due to the attack. Jimmy knocks them out and uses zip ties to tie them up, make sure that they don't leave. He goes out and meets with the others as they take down the rest of the rivals before stating that he needs to find a way into the dorm. Jimmy finds a ladder on the side and climbs up to the windows, entering the boys' dorm. He goes through each room and looks for Gary until he enters one room and is pepper sprayed by Gary. He chases him down and they meet in the parking lot as Gary takes off on a bike. You grab a bike of your own and you literally bike all across the entire map until you reach the Bullworth beach. You throw a firecracker at the bike and knock Gary off, and then you finally meet him. The sun is just about to come up and you fight Gary. You finally get to fight Gary again. He is much tougher this time than he was at the end of the first game. When you beat him up almost near death, the cops stop you and put handcuffs on you, with Gary laughing while he coughs up blood. He has bruises, cuts, and blood all over his face, too. Jimmy tells the officers he was planning a school shooting. They require evidence, and in a cutscene we see Jimmy take them to the frat house to see that the whiteboard along with Wyatt and Paul. The cops see what he means and arrest Paul, Wyatt, and of course Gary. They let Jimmy go free and his friends too. The game ends with some of the frat members from his frat group graduating from college as Jimmy and Pete hang out by the docks and are glad they are friends. And that concludes the final mission, aka The Fool's Errand. We then get a message pop up after the credits that says Bully the Week. It's this game's version of Endless Summer, and it's in fact Chapter 7. In the free roam, you can go wherever you want. Bullworth Town, Old Bullworth Vale, Diamond Wall, New Coventry, Blue Skies, Winter's End, Billy Crane's Carnival, and since it's the next summer, you can now officially enter the old Bullworth Academy school grounds and see the new add-ons they made, which is making the school an extra level and also making the boys' dorm 2 levels instead of 1, like in the original beta. You can also access a stranger mission in the parking lot of the Bullworth Academy, which is the old war veteran hobo from the first game that needed the transistors. Whew, as you can see, I had a lot of fun making this. Now, of course, this is going to be my wrap-up. That is all I have for you today about Bully 2. Now, of course, like I said, this is not official. It's not a thing saying that, oh, I know Bully 2 is coming out. I'm not working with Rockstar, I promise. I am just someone who would love to see one of my favorite games of all time get a sequel. It's way past its, time to get a sequel. I know we had a playable version, but I just feel like this is one of those games that absolutely deserves a sequel. Put GTA 6 on hold, put Red Dead 3 on hold, put, Rockstar Ping Pong on hold. Give us another Bully game and let us all enjoy the fact that we have Bully 2. And also another feature I forgot to add, multiplayer. Put an online mode in there, have fun with it. Anyway, guys, I think that's where I'm going to end this. If you guys enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Again, this is not official, and this is just my opinion. This is just what I would like to see happen in Bully 2. You may have another idea. You may want the summer camp. You may want him to be in senior year of high school. I don't know. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.